This is Sami Mahroum, and I'll be talking about the next wave of automation and the opportunities that are generated by the next wave of automation. So the next wave of automation will be about protecting and enhancing what I call the individual human agency. The COVID-19 crisis that we all had to go through, and it's still unfortunately uh, among us, if anything, had taught us that the automation of supply chain on its own is not enough to keep the economy going. We've seen that countries like China, Germany, Japan, South Korea, that have the highest rate of robotics installation in the world, being also the first countries to be heavily affected by the corona crisis. They all had to shut down their factories, even though these factories were in a large, highly automated with very high level of robotics density. So despite their investments in automation in robotics, they still found out that they could not continue to operate under the restrictions of the coronavirus, the restrictions that the governments have put in place to protect human agency, to protect humans. And a big reason for that is that while we've been very successful or successful to a very large extent in automating a significant part of our supply chain, especially in manufacturing, but increasingly in logistics and transport, we have not done an equally good job in automating the demand side of the economy. So yes, true that the factories could continue to produce products and services by machines, but the consumers, the users, the payers for this service and for these goods were not able to participate in economic life. That became very clear in the very first month of the crisis of the lockdown. Uh, Shortly after, we realized that this is something that we had to live long with, and businesses, individuals, households, governments have rushed to equip individuals with some tools to enable them to continue to participate in economic life. And by participation in economic life, I mean by both continue to work, but also to consume. And they invested in cheaper internet access, in home office equipment, entertainment, various modes of online purchases, online consumption, from entertainment, media, banking, to anything that you could possibly consume digitally. And that what I mean by automating demands. So in industries, in businesses that had already been used or accustomed or developed, invested in online digital marketplaces, channels, the level of automation of demand and consumption was quite high, and they could just boost that and expand it. And that allowed that segment of the economy to kick off again, and in fact to grow. Retail, for instance, grew. Nevertheless, with the constraints that the various lockdowns brought on us as consumers and as producers, the economies were still not really operating to their full capacity. To the contrary, governments, including the government of Japan, which has one of the highest rate of automation in the world, found themselves compelled to design and introduce very large financial and economic stimulus programs. And these stimulus programs, the stimulus programs, were meant to help consumers who are not participating in economic life to re-participate in economic life. But money was only one part of it. If I'm an elderly, if I'm a person living in a place that did not have a strong, good, vibrant, reliable access to the internet, I was still not able to participate in economic life, to work or to consume. And we take it for granted that these technologies are available to all of us, but in fact, they're not. Internet connection still either unavailable or very unreliable and extremely expensive for probably the majority of the world population. And if we were only talking about advanced, rich economies, that's not always the case either. Not everything is still consumable on the net. In addition, the whole idea and culture of getting things delivered home for your consumption. In many of these places in Europe and elsewhere, was still a very new idea, something that we still have to get accustomed to. It was often associated with unnecessary additional cost. It was like the cost of laziness. Instead of going out and picking a takeaway meal, I would sit at home and would expect someone to deliver it to me. Now we've seen that the message has been well received, and we've seen that there's a major investment being undertaken in investing in automating unmanned vehicles, to introducing unmanned ground vehicles, drones, etc., with the purpose of enabling individuals to use these to participate further in the consumption of physical goods that needed to be transported physically from one place to another, as opposed to consuming simply just digital goods and services, which were made available on digital networks. Now, where do we go with this? The key message is to look at how can we further automate human agency? How can we protect it? The human will, intention, their ability to participate in all forms of social and economic life. These would include investing in assistive technologies, these things that we can wear to protect us from hazards, from extreme environments, from viruses. Right now, we only have the mask, right? So could we invest? Could we create something that can replace the mask? That can replace that can remove our vulnerabilities to extreme conditions, that will allow us to survive with less impediment, with less barriers to our abilities to continue be productive and to continue be active in society. I'm thinking about technologies like augmented realities that can allow me to meet with other people without necessarily physically moving there. I can touch things, haptics that can emulate and simulate the exact experience of picking things up or touching things with hands. I'm thinking of exoskeletons that may protect me from fires, enable me to run faster, to climb, to do different things. In addition to all the core robots and the various types of immersive experiences. I think we have all these technologies already with us in a very beta format. And the next phase would be now is to invest in these type of human agency assistive technologies in order to protect us from any similar episode in the future of a massive risk to human agency, be it a virus or be it environmental or for regardless of whatever source it comes from. By doing that, then we are opening up new avenues for economic growth, for investment, for prosperity. It's the new techno-economic paradigm that in many ways we have been speculating about, waiting for, and this is the next wave of automation as I see it. And I think a very good starting point today is to start with thinking about the human capabilities that are required to consume essential products and services. So essential products and services from food to healthcare to education. If we can think about these and the types of technologies that will be needed, assistive technologies, but also mobility technologies, connectivity technologies, new materials that would allow us as humans to enable to live a comfortable life, to access these essential products and services and consume them with little fear about external adverse intervention in these abilities. If we could focus on this as our starting point, if we use some of the stimulus packages that the governments have now designed and made available in the rich economies at least to develop these, then I think we are in a very good position to set ourselves on a very high level of new economic growth, wave of economic growth and prosperity. And when we look at the global scene, beyond the rich economies, I think the opportunities are massive to to bridge this technology gap, the technology scarcity that is a common feature in large parts of the developing world that had disconnected billions of potential users and consumers from the rest of the economy, and that has had a negative impact on our rate of growth. The advanced economies are quite saturated. Demographically, they're not growing. These are aging societies. The market are quite saturated, and there's a lot of opportunities that are available out there in what we commonly refer to as a developing world, but we are not able to access the majority of that world due to lack of technology that enable that access. So another big part of the opportunity that lies ahead is how to bring human agency or human agency enabling technologies to those parts of the world. And there we're starting from a much lower level. We think about the internet, fast, high speed, cheap, reliable internet connectivity. We're thinking about airports for drones, highways for unmanned ground vehicles, but all designed in a new ways. So smart cities, but also smart highways and smart countries and smart means of production and consumption. So there are a lot of opportunities that are available outside the developed world as well, which will need significant positive results for the economies of the North as well. So we do need to take a global picture and a global perspective on the status quo and the opportunities that lie ahead, and put human agency at the core and the heart of the next wave of technological development. Thank you.